this is the AirTrain proposal. It goes to Willets Point and goes to LaGuardia, right? That's the
Rick Cotton is all things AirTrain, so let's let Rick answer that one.
okay. So this is
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So in your time at the port, has anyone come up to you and said maybe we should not do this dog leg because you're moving? The board just approved $55 million more. Anyone in the agency, anyone from outside the agency, come to you and say maybe we should rethink this route? Or
Well, the actual alignment is still under discussion, but it is going to go to Willets Point, and the framework is that it would be under half an hour from Midtown Manhattan to LaGuardia. So which is the benefit of the AirTrain.
who just sorry, no, my just where are you basing that off of? That this half-hour ride, and what do you think of just again the basic framework of going into Willets Point, coming back out to LaGuardia?
Well, so what I would say to you is that I think this discussion is still premature because the point of Phase 2 planning is to finish the analysis and to consider the pros and cons of the alignment and to get into all the issues that you're raising. So what I would say to you is we're working on that. All points of view will be considered. That's the point of the planning process.
Yes, question. Just identify yourself.
Vin Rohn at AM New York. Just following up on the AirTrain. I know you just said it's still really premature in the process, but are you at all concerned with the idea that assuming the AirTrain's only running a half hour, that still might be one train per every hour, 2 trains per every hour, assuming that it might be more appealing to take the subway or another MTA service just because it runs more frequently, even if it's a few minutes slower to get there? Is that something that you're considering right now?
Well, the planning process is going to consider all aspects of this. The only thing I'd point out to you is that there is no rail access whatsoever, subway or otherwise, to LaGuardia. It is the only major airport on the East Coast that does not have rail access.
That fact is striking to me. When I heard that, I was shocked. Yes, I'm sorry. Question?
Yeah. Why does the planning cost so much? The Port Authority has a planning department, pays its planners more than $1 million a year. Like, why have a planning department at all?
Well, the expense associated with planning is roughly comparable to what other Port Authority projects are. And the reason for it is that there's a lot of preliminary engineering that has to be done. There's a lot of analysis of the geotechnical, meaning the support structure. The environmental review process is itself very time-consuming. The port is not staffed internally in terms of all of its capital projects to do that inside. And that's the reason for the planning money, which is the routine way that the port handles that.
And have you guys released your ridership study yet for the AirTrain?
That is part of the planning process and is still under development.
Yes, in the back.
What's the current estimate on the cost of the AirTrain? Has it changed since the last capital?
So the answer to that is what I've said before, which is it's being looked at. It will be part of the planning function. In order to price it out, you have to finish a good deal of the preliminary engineering, and that's what's underway now.
Yes, question. I'm sorry.
You don't have a working estimate of the cost?
There is not a working estimate of the cost. It is under development.
So
Yes, question. I'm sorry.
Yes, Curtis Tate of the Record. Chairman O'Toole, have you had a chance yet to talk with Governor-elect Murphy? And if you have, could you tell us a little bit about the nature of that conversation and also whether he has made any commitment to keep you as chairman of?
So if I've had a conversation with the governor-elect, I would respect the confidentiality of that conversation. Listen, I held elective office for almost 30 years. I'm out of that business now. I'm here to serve a job as a commissioner and as a chair, and decisions are made by elected officials, and we'll see how that goes. But that's as far as I'm willing to go on that conversation. But thank you for the question, and I did anticipate that question today. Yes, question. I thought it was coming. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just to follow up on the cost estimate thing. Originally, there was a cost estimate. It was $450 million. And then in the capital plan that you guys released, you said it would be at least $1 billion. So there must be some general idea of what the cost is, right?
Well, the answer is there's a lot of work going on with respect to that. But in terms of putting a number out that has not been fully vetted, makes no sense. And the other aspect that I would just point out is, to the extent that there is a public-private partnership, the amount that is actual Port Authority capital would wind up being supplemented by what would come out of a public-private partnership.
Just a question for you, Mr. Chairman, but just on a factual question, who's getting the contract for the consulting work that brings the planning cost to $75 million? Has that been selected yet?
Oh, there will be, what was authorized was to supplement certain of the contracts. The specific contractors where their supplements taking place were mentioned were Jacobs and WSP, and then there will be further procurements.
Okay, and then question for the chairman. This $55 million authorization really sailed through quick. Nobody on the board had a single question. What do you make of that?
Make of what specifically? That we didn't have a single question?
Not a single question. Vote went in, made a presentation. Like, do you feel satisfied with the level of discourse or the information you're getting about this process to just gavel, boom, $55 million right out?
Well, I will tell you, if that were the entirety of the decision-making that it gets presented and we just vote on it, I would probably say it's an unsatisfactory performance. The reality is there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of discussions internally, many of which the executive director is intimately involved in. I'm here every week, sitting around staff meetings, having these really in-depth discussions on not just this project, but many other projects. So to think that we will just willy-nilly vote on any expenditure is probably wildly inaccurate characterization. There is a lot of, if I can finish, there's a lot of discussion on that and any other item we voted on either today, either in executive committee having discussions or publicly voted on. So they are thoroughly vetted. They are attacked vigorously by staff and commissioners. So we take seriously our charge.
How would you characterize the conversations you've had about the AirTrain amongst your fellow commissioners?
Whatever conversations I've had with them, again, one-on-one would be a personal. I would let you go to them and ask those conversations. But there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of high degree of concern that this has to get done right. To think that there isn't an AirTrain or a direct rail or a supplemental transportation system there, and the only one in the country is frankly embarrassing. We're behind the eight ball on this one. We have to move. Yes.
Do you think people will stop coming to New York if there isn't an AirTrain? Like, what do you think the repercussions are? Because our tourism is, what, more than $60 million a year or something?
I think I turned that question around, which is, if you look at global airports, every highly rated airport has a mass transit rail link. It is, in my view, frankly, extraordinary that LaGuardia is the only major airport on the East Coast that does not have a rail link. In the New York area, predictability and reliability in terms of the time to get to the airport is a huge problem. Congestion's getting worse. All those considerations are going into the planning process. What'll come out as much is refined cost estimates, refined travel time estimates, and a full analysis in terms of the pros and cons, and that's what will be provided to the board once the planning process is complete.
A couple more questions.
Anybody else?